What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. We're waiting on UPS right now, and hopefully the guy gets here pretty soon because I'm super excited. We're getting in our pistons today. So would you like it, buddy? It's okay. Here, you can have it and put it in your bowl. There you go. So I know it's not here yet, but we just gotta wait. Eventually he'll get here, and man, it's like Christmas morning. So we have a couple things that we're gonna need to get today, so probably just go ahead and run the errands and get them. I need to get some oil, coolant. I need to figure out Allen head fittings, wherever that it is at. Right here. We need to figure out the fittings to get into. Oh, my camera's dirty again. Okay. We need to figure out the size Allen head fittings. I think they're 9mm or 10mm or something like that. I'm pretty sure they're 9 or 3/8. So we're gonna go grab some fittings so we can do this. We're also gonna try to clean up these threads because they're pretty chotched. We're gonna go get the Allen head keys for this. I kind of scuffed up with some vice grips a little bit, but I wanted to make sure this threading wasn't fucked. And I don't think the threading's too messed up. Honestly, this one went down and then this one was a little messed up, but I got it to start threading, so we'll probably be good. And that's about it. So we'll be back here in a minute. We're gonna go to the parts store. Or I have to talk to my buddy Rob to get the first tune to get the focus going. He needed some information, but we should be good. We should have what we need to get it started at least today, and that's the goal. And yeah, hopefully we get it started. I can't wait. We need to start off our morning right though. Dude, this state's so reliable, never lets me down. Never has once. Alright, don't know if we waste our money or not, but we're gonna go ahead and try out the bits of hex sockets. So should work. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully it does work. So I didn't see myself investing in a set of these because I thought I had a bunch, but apparently it's a 9. It's close. It's more like 3/8. So the 9mm works. It's just a little sloppy in there, but it's not gonna distort enough to, you know, break it. So we should be good. We're gonna head back to the house, and hopefully our parts are closer to getting there. So I was in the middle of setting up the fuel rail, and we got a box, and you guys are probably gonna love this. Dun, 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 Super Tech. These are the 21mm or 89mm. This is a dished forged set of high performance pistons. Look at that, boys. So we have our wrist pins in here, and the moment that we've all been waiting for, the improved design forged version without the ring gap on the ringland right there. Extra slots, 21mm wrist pins. This is looking good, guys. This is looking real good. We're gonna have to do a lot of work to get these guys in there though. We're gonna have to get we have the wrist pins now, which is great and everything. But in order to get these guys in, we're gonna have to go grab the rods and the bearings, and we're gonna do some measuring and stuff. We'll make sure that everything fits, and then we should be able to pretty much bolt everything on in, and we'll torque it down. We'll do the balance shaft delete, we'll do the pistons, everything. I just want to make sure that this fuel system doesn't leak. So right now we're setting up the injectors and the rail into the head, and then I'm doing a quick -6 line from on the rail back into the fuel pressure regulator. So then we should be able to, you know, do what we need to do. Also, I'm gonna have to clean this head up. I got the new head gasket. I have the new head bolts I was using 2 of them to hold in the head while we were doing this injector stuff. But to be fair, very excited. And try to get a good video, as good as you can get. All right, so we're gonna knock off the.
Is it already recording?
Yeah, it should be.
Okay.
If that's lit. Yeah, so we're gonna knock the knock out the top half of this cover for the rod. We're gonna start out by putting some pressure on it and loosening it up. You can also do the same on the side. I just use this and some tape, and that way we know that it's safe. Now we're gonna grab our piston here, and we're gonna face the rod and the piston in the direction of the passenger side. Right here, we drop that guy in, and it should, these aren't press fit, they're held in by a circlip, so it shouldn't be too tight. If it is too tight, then just give it a little tap in and it should be good. As you can see, those went in pretty easily. And then now here comes the kind of challenging part, a clip right here, and we're going to place it partway in, and then get something, usually Phillips head or flathead works well. And then there's a little groove indentation right there. You can kind of see that indentation in there is pretty much where you're going to stick into, and you're going to press down while you press in the clip. And if you did it right, which we almost got it, just an inch away, almost there. You get the idea though. Pretty much press that in, get it to clip into the groove all the way on both sides. Very light, like you don't want to scrape the inside of this stuff. And as you can see, that's one, and the second one's even easier because pretty much we're just sitting on that little circlip in there. And we're going to install it at the right angle, which is at least 1/4 of the way past. And same thing, push this, grab once again, and then we'll push in the clip again. And that's pretty much how you do it. So we'll get this one done, and then we'll get right back to you. We have all the other ones done, and that's going to be it. Now, here's a demonstration of our second cylinder. Right there, that's the 19 thousandths. It's so tight that it's literally able to hang in there. We're going to scrape it up another round or two and just get it to be pretty much loose right there, because we don't want to squeeze and ruin our feeler gauges or anything too much. So, but that's an idea of how you want it to be when you're gapping piston rings. Straight all the way top to bottom, nice and clean. We're going to clean off all those burrs perfectly, but I hope that you get what I'm trying to spit out. You can see all the scuffing in the cylinder walls. You can see the little bits of wear here and there and stuff. We need all this to be crystal perfect, clear, as good as we can get it. So we're going to set the rest of these rings, and just keep going and going and going until we're done. Right now we have the piston rings. These are NPR XX rings, and they're a little bit easier to seal, and this is what they're branded as, is high performance OEM quality piston rings. Now this is going to be the top ring right here, and this is the bottom ring right here, and you can tell because the bottom ring has this little lip. Super hard to see, but now you can kind of see it. Almost looks like there's 2 rings on it, but there's not. That's going to be the second piston. I already honed these walls, so they should be a little stretched out more than they were already. And we're going to put in this ring. We should have a super tight gap even up top. We're going to grab one of our pistons here. What you do is you grab one of your pistons. First off, they should fit snug. They should be able to kind of glide across the inside. That's how you know that they're right or wrong. So pretty much you get it in there, and you can go down to about right there, or you can go a little past. I like to just go a little past. And then that way we know what we're working with. And now you can see this gap, and I can tell that's already way too tight. We're probably gonna have to grind these rings. However, grab feeler gauge set. This one's pretty much brand new, so it's all the same. It all works as long as you don't grind them down too much. They all work good. We should be looking for about 19 thousandths on this top ring and about 21 on the bottom, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this isn't even fitting, which is good because that means that this is a oversized from factory ring, so you can cut it down to fit. I'm gonna take out our ring. You can just grab it with two hands, kind of like such, with both sets of fingers, and pull it straight up. Don't be afraid, the cylinder walls are used to this type of torture 24/7. Just don't scrape it up too much. And yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and gap these set of rings. I don't know if you guys have seen how to do this. We'll do this real quick. We'll do this on all sets of rings except for the oil rings. Will really keep stock as long as they're at least 15 thousandths wide. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Piston ring numbers always go up in 200. That goes up. That one's got a little bit bigger of a gap. Press it down with our piston. Same thing. Get it down in there. I can already see a bigger gap. So I'm gonna go for 15 thousandths. We'll see about how that fits. Yeah, so that fits super tight. So this bottom ring is not gonna work. Last one we're gonna check is the oil ring. Up. You usually can say it's safe to assume if this is for the stock bore, which it is, you're gonna be good. Put them together. You just need the bottom two really. And just make sure it's nice and loose in there. You have extra space. Sits in there nice, comes in and out easy. We know that there's a pretty decent gap, but we are pretty sure that our oil ring gap is going to be nice because this stuff is set from them, and worst comes worst is we blow an oil ring and we say, hey, what the heck? And that way we get a new fresh sealing surface. We're pretty much going to run this, and we're going to do a break-in oil change, and then pretty much we're just going to run it for about 500 miles and get it nice and worn in a little bit. It'll probably take a couple days to do it, and then we'll be able to run it out. So anyways, what we're going to do now is we're going to assemble the bottom end. We're going to put in our piston rings after we gap them. I'll show you how to gap them, and then we should have an assembled block, and that just means reassemble everything. So let's get to it. Quick disclaimer, these are really hard to do, and also the second ring, which is made of a different material, which I'm paying for a little bit. This second ring material is it's a lot less hard when you're grinding it. It took me about 7 scrapes on this for my test fit, which I had to straighten it up a little bit after I scraped it up, and it ended up being at a gap of 23 thousandths. So it's a little looser than what I would have wanted. Still not bad, which is okay, but disclaimer, those second rings are pretty hard. You have to be very careful with them. So we'll just keep going. A couple of very mean curse words and a little bit of scraping later, and it looks like our surface is pretty much ready to go. We still have to clean out the head completely. I'm gonna grab some brake clean from the parts store because there's just stuff in here that I can't get. This sat outside for, I think it was like an hour or two, and this grass is really bad. So it was just shedding all inside of the head there. But however, pretty much good here. We're gonna go ahead and scrape off the head and spray it clean, and then we'll go ahead and get to getting the head bolts on. We'll get under it and we'll torque the rod bolts and make sure the bearings are right and everything, and then we should be good. That's for sure. So as you can see right here, we have one fitting, and this should be the same in theory. Well, yes it is. So that is the exact same thread fitting. This is, I think, 1/8 inch NPT, or sorry, 1/4 inch NPT. And then we also have right here, our turbo oil feed for our turbo. As you can see, that oil was there. This right here is my 1/4 inch NPT to my dash 4 turbo feed fitting. So we're gonna go ahead and connect these two. However, we need to get Teflon tape on it.
It's really hard to do everything in the wind, but we're gonna make sure we don't mess it up. So blow all your fittings clean and clear, make them nice, and then pretty much you can just pull out a little piece of tape. You can rest it on your thumb if it's not too windy. This usually works. It's a little windy, so it might not work as well for me. And then you just go around once. Hold on here. Okay. And now that we've gone around once, we can go around another 2 times, almost, with no issues there, and then we just pull it apart, and bam. Now we have our little fitting. We're going to clean up all the ending stuff, make it look all nice like that. That way it's not sitting inside of our oil. I know it's so hard to see this, guys, but I'm trying my best to give you an idea of what's going on. So we Teflon tape that. And then we're gonna go ahead. I want this one to be straight with no with nothing in the way. So now that I've taped it, pretty much I'll just tighten the two together like that, and that's one of them. So we'll go ahead and give it a little bit more torque. They don't have to be all the way flush usually. You just want to get them to where they pretty much get tight and give them an extra little bit of a turn. It's called a mechanic's turn, pretty much. So we need to do the same thing on this piece right here for the other thread, which is going to be my oil port. Or if you don't have that per se, then you can also buy like what's on here on this piece. You can see this little plug. Pretty much we could just use that and that'll be good. I'm not using this anymore, so if I needed a plug I could use it. Alright guys, so just a little bit of cleanup and tightening to go, but as you can see we have our 2 fittings in on our sandwich plate. These are always getting oil flow as well as this, but in theory you're never going to return your oil that's cooled until, are we done? Okay, until the sandwich plate opens up. Now I threaded every single one of these except for the cap ends. So these 2 cap ends aren't sealed, but the 2 going into this pipe fitting are, and the pipe fitting itself is. So wind died down for a second. I pointed, this is actually facing pretty much directly down. This is my oil pressure gauge, and the reason I pointed it down is because I don't want this to starve and like cavitate and then have to refill back up. So pretty much we've had a downward angle so the oil will always be in here, so that way the gauge can't backfeed, and it would have to go through the pressure of getting all the way up and then back through the filter and all of that through this tiny little line to ever lose constant volume inside of here. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten up this and this. We'll just make sure everything's all good, and then we'll go ahead and get our filter on, and we'll do a little bit of cleaning and wipe it down and make sure everything's tight. Fill our oil cooler here, and we'll be good.
What you know about that? Acting like a bitch, telling you I'm a snitch, and all that shit for real. Fucking feelings, fucking fake, hoes for real. Put them on blast, feeling flake like a peel. That shit's a meal. When I check a bitch, they can wish they will pitch me all the deals. Clear my memory with us like it was wheel. Wanna see him squeal? Newsflash. When a man jumped down from the porch with a 9 in his hand, you won't really even know how to feel. Cause fuck those feelings, they'll just fuck anywho. When we came out of together with the 5-4 you, I wish I could show a motherfucker how it is when it drips like this. So hard, it's bitch, don't bitch. I wish you would fuck for real. And me coming up like this, I'm in my whip. 5% tint, check them wheels, can feel my shit. Yo boy, it's chill.
Some of you guys wouldn't believe how hot it is out there. It is ridiculous. It's like 80 degrees and it's still 20-30 mile an hour winds, and it just goes to show kind of how messy it really gets you. But it's so hot that I'm literally making Kool-Aid, and yes, I'm using this whole bag of sugar on this 1 cup of Kool-Aid. That's how you make it. But anyways, so why are we doing all this? Why are we making all these custom mods for a Duratec to handle 400 horsepower? I really wanted to make my car reliable when I'm pushing 20 pounds of boost, whatever it's going to be, out of that little eBay turbo that I just showed. So the biggest thing about the mods that we're going to be doing is that not all of them support the engine. Some support the fuel system, some support the engine, and we also have one which I'm going to show you right here, which is going to support the drivetrain. So pretty much what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a little unpackaging. I already opened it, so we're just gonna go ahead and open this box, and it feels like Christmas because this finally came in. It took about a month, and these aren't the best, but it really is the only form of support that we have for our cars, for the transmission and engine combo that go together for our cars in specific, that is affordable. And we have a throwout bearing here by spec. Okay, now I'm just kidding. We have a clutch. We have a stage 3 6-puck clutch setup from SCT. We're gonna go ahead and put this down on the couch so we can unwrap it. So my heart's already broken. That's what I get. Great. So as you can see here, this is a drag racing 6-puck clutch, not a sprung 6-puck clutch, which is what I ordered. And I don't know why I paid for an unsprung clutch with a cheap ass disc when I originally had bought a sprung clutch, which is more expensive. So apparently we're sending this back to spec. Great. I've also been getting a lot of hate. So when I went and I put my connecting rods together, I torqued them down originally, and I didn't really lube them. I kind of put everything together, and then I tightened it down. And I wanted to see if it could move under its own pressure, and it didn't. It locked up. So I got it to turn a little bit, and then I realized it was probably way too much, and I went online to look for support for the problem I'm having. So a lot of people are really not nice, and I got a whole bunch of hate comments. You live and you learn, but it doesn't take a lot to be nice, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing this type of build to show off to people, and I'm not doing this type of build to make people mad. There's always going to be some rotten eggs in the bunch, right? Like, that's how it always goes. So anyways, things have been really rough, and I don't know, I am a firm believer that things happen for a reason. And unfortunately, it's just going to be a little bit before this is done, guys. And I don't mean to slow down the project or anything, but with this clutch, I had one of the fuel fittings strip for one of the fuel rail fittings strip. We're going to go ahead and probably just send this back in, and I'm going to call them and ask what had happened about that. And then hopefully that gets figured out pretty soon. I have some new flywheel bolts for it. I have all new bolts, all new gaskets. I have all the fluids. I literally have RTV, everything to finish this build. It's just that I need to check the bearing clearance, and I might just end up sending my block out to a shop so I can make sure that my oil clearances are good. This really does suck, guys. I got to make sure that the bottom end's going to last a long time. I've seen these spec clutches last for a while. People have ran them for like 3 or 4 years, and sometimes you get that out of them. Sometimes you only get, a year or two, depending on how you drive it. Of course, I don't want a solid disc clutch, because there's just, I plan to drive this car in the street sometimes, and that's going to be like rev it up to like 2,000 RPM and then dump and almost pretty much dump the clutch and hope that it holds, you know what I mean? Like, and the car's already especially loud as it is. Definitely don't want to be messing around too much with high horsepower drag clutch styles and street driving with a hood dump. The turbo, we're probably just going to end up upgrading it, honestly, but we're going to keep it on and use it for now. It's just until I get a adapter flange to make this a 3-inch V-band. I don't want to change up my turbo setup, and then I also probably might have to add water cooling if I do a different type of turbo style. I just need a whole new setup. I literally bought expensive tile and all this, and anyways, this actually ended up leaking. So we ended up putting a little bit of JB Weld on it in order just to hold it down and see if we can use it for a solution for now. I put in 2 8-pound springs inside of the wastegate and double capped it, and it looks like I'm gonna have to redo the bolt. So we'll probably end up redoing this. As you can see, it definitely bent that bolt down. So I pretty much used some thread sealant on the banjo bolt fitting right here on the end. And then if we come over here to the 2.5 manifold, I have added the cap that I'm going to be using. So pretty much the engine will not be under vacuum. This is what goes to the breather plate that goes on the block. So this pretty much won't be connected to anything, and this is going to be blocking all the boost from leaking through that. It does have an O-ring in it, but if you look very closely, you can see that wiggles kind of freely in there. So I don't know what we're going to do about that yet. I think I might just JB weld it, and that way it's just kind of stuck in there forever. Or we'll just use a lot of thread tape, shove a bolt in there, and chop it. So speaking of that, I wanted to do something permanently about my EGR delete. As you see, we have my head here, a delete for my EGR on the return side with some JB weld, and so I used some JB weld in this this fitting. Now that was a bad idea because I didn't think about how hot the head is going to get with the JB weld, so we're going to have to take that off, and I'm probably just going to put some extreme heat JB weld on it and just try that, and we'll see if we get lucky. So I wanted to do something here on the other side where pretty much where the exhaust goes in right here, and I found this bolt, and it looks like the bolt is very loose all the way down, so you can push it, but then once it reaches its spacer, this is pretty much an old camber bolt, then it stops. And as you can see, it has a little bit of a step, a very small one, but it does have a step around it. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to pretty much get it level right here to where it's at the very last thread. As you can see right there, the threads stop, and then right here it's level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off probably an extra like 2 millimeters, or I'll smash this in here, and as soon as I put on the exhaust manifold, pretty much it can't back out, and then this hole will be completely plugged. So I'm just going to put that there for now, and we're going to go ahead and hold off on this. I'm going to clean up all the surfaces. You can kind of see that where this one bolt right here, this bolt wasn't in, it kind of was leaking a little bit, you know, up here at the top of this flange. And I have a pretty decent setup that has a good amount of boost and can hold all the exhaust gas out of the turbo and not leak anything out from the intake manifold as well.
We're going to go ahead and do some The Ford Focus merch, and we'll go ahead and see how it goes. But more than likely, we'll go ahead and get the car running before we do that. But as I always say, give them the gap. Don't get clapped. Mau Mau. Tell him, girl. Okay, she's busy cleaning herself. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace easy. Get that V. Late.